Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We've got a great show lined up for you. I'm Harvey Freed, and she's Lisa Lawson.
Yes, I am.
Hey, Lisa, what's shaking?
A whole lot of nothing so far.
Lisa,
Still early.
Lisa, of course, we call her the Google from Capital Mortgage Funding.
Is that a terrible
she
nickname?
knows lots of answers, so lots of weird questions that you typically have to look up and stuff like that. But thank you for coming in. You gave me the standard call. Hey, Harvey, I'm running a little bit late from Macomb County.
Yes, I live way out on the east side and north, and there was a little traffic, little things happening. I think somebody actually had an accident, so got a little delayed, but it's all right. I still have plenty of time to get here.
You got here. And, of course, our special guests are here. Derica Wade from Dwellings, Michigan, the Canton office, or the Plymouth office.
The Plymouth, yes.
Yeah, you guys also have another office on the east side.
At Sterling Heights, yes, we do.
All right,
East
they're
side?
everywhere. Dwellings, Michigan, you see them
Everywhere.
everywhere. Derica, you're great. I caught you on social media, reached out to you, I think like 6 weeks ago.
Yes.
So we're trying to do some business together and help some first-time home buyers. Katie joins us. Katie
guys.
Gilbo. Hey, Katie. Hi. Of course, you work at the office, too. That's okay, Eric. You can do that anytime. You're good.
We're rockers
Eric, our
here.
producer's here. He wanted to say hello to Eric. We recognize you.
Hi, Eric.
We take your calls live here in the studio at 248-539-9797. 1 hour of mortgage and real estate talk. Sports follows us after. The Red Wings are in a tear. I think the Pistons lost last night. We'll let Pat Caputo give you all that good stuff. Rates, Lisa, mortgage rates. Everyone was talking, Derica, and you'll jump in on this too. Everyone was talking last year. Oh, yeah, rates will be great. They're going to be way better by the end of 2023. That wasn't the case.
No.
The same guys are still predicting things. These guys are the predictors.
Well, Fannie Mae is one of them.
Uh-oh.
And they believe it'll be in the high fives by the end of the year. But, predictions are usually not accurate. It's just a guess. So if you're holding out, waiting for this, miraculous high five rate, you could miss out on amazing property. And the reality is these people who've been waiting past couple of years. I keep saying I'm going to wait till, the market breaks. It's not so crazy. I don't want to overpay. Well, you may have gotten a house for $200,000 3 years ago at, a rate of 5 or 6, but you didn't want to overpay. But now you're going to get that same house for 7 something as a rate, and you're going to be paying $240 for it. So your plan isn't working. And all we can do is tell people to get in, do it now before you miss out anymore.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Derica, there's no doubt about that the values continue to go up. What's your inventory looking out? I mean, you guys are the Canton, Plymouth, North, everything out that way. What is inventory over there looking like right now?
Sad.
Depleted, sad.
Yes. I mean, we are definitely encouraging people to sell their homes because there's so much equity out there just sitting there. And we have new buyers that want those houses and then sellers either wanting to upsize, downsize, and we are here to help. So we're trying to make things happen.
Yeah, no doubt. We called it the silver tsunami. We're waiting for all these old folks to, what they used to do is they used to vacate their house because they no longer wanted the colonial. They needed a ranch. They'd be able to downsize, maybe even leave the state, go to their destinations down south.
Go to a condo.
Go to a nice condo and something like that. We don't get that really anymore. And especially since so many families are sitting on those high 2s or 3% or even 4% interest rates, it's hard to get them to move off of that. So we see a lot of that. Hey, we're going to take your calls all morning long at 248-539-9797. I'm excited because one of the places I'm going to be going to is a new construction site out in Chesterfield Township with the Anchor Bay Schools, Lottie View, Riverside Woods, 2024 duplex condos. It's in northern Chesterfield. I've been out there. The prices start at $350. Chuck Connolly and I are out there tomorrow, so I like announcing on the radio because we're doing an open house from 2 to 4. We've got 2 models to look at, and there's about 6 to 8 units left that you can purchase, but they're ranches.
Wow.
They're ranch condominiums, and they start at $350. Nice. For something a little bit more deluxe, they have lofts and third bedrooms, full basements. I love these units, and it's really fun for me is, Lisa, I haven't got a chance to do this often lately. I used to back in the day work a new construction site, all day long, 3 days a week. I would be there and helping families get in, and that's really fun. This place is fun for me again because, again, families are looking at these ranches.
Takes you.
I'll jump in, Lisa, until you clear your throat. But you guys, could you imagine, again, this is northern Macomb and Chesterfield, but what do we have around here in Oakland or Wayne? It's hard to find something like this in Plymouth, Canton, Northville. South Lyon and Lyon Township, I'm seeing more building out there. Derica, is that where a lot of the new construction is out our way?
I do see still a lot even in Canton, but they go so fast. I mean, we have stuff building all around us, but I have a client that's moving back from Canada, and I'm struggling to find her something, even in her price point. They want new construction in the 400 to 500s. I'm like, where?
Wow.
But that 350 sounds good.
Yeah, it totally does. Is it like 650 now? Like when you see these new construction
On
condos,
average,
I see a
probably
lot
at
of them.
least five. At least five. I mean, to get something in fours, maybe Westland, but you're even at. I looked at one for 420 in Westland. So to get Canton at 400, it's probably not going to happen.
Right. You want to be in the thick of things. And God, what used to be 350, 400 sort of falls into our conversation is what are you waiting for? You really can't wait.
Right.
So if there's anything, if you think your parents are really considering that, and I think in your area, especially the Plymouth, the Canton, the Livonias, and they're getting to that point where they think they are ready to maybe move a little west and take a look at one of these ranch condominiums, now is the time because last year's prices, like you said, maybe 2 years ago, they were about $550. Now they're $650. It's hard to downsize, and it's really discouraging some of the older folks, or let's say the retiree, the empty nesters. It's not always older, but yeah, a lot of them want to downsize and get out of their bigger homes and stop cutting the lawn. It's just hard to.
Yes, I have a couple I've been working with, I think, for about 3 years. They're older. They are looking to downsize, and we've really struggled to find them something with. They don't really want a basement. They don't want a colonial. They want a ranch, and they go so fast. And it's just been really hard trying to find them something. And they're so adorable. I just love them. Like, don't give up. Don't give up.
Don't give up. Hang in. Is constantly hanging the fight. Again, we see a lot of, Lisa, you and I are jamming. And of course, all you do, Lisa, literally for the last 2 weeks, it's like she's in front of her computer, pre-approval. It's nonstop, really trying to get Katie. We have to get these young folks too.
Yes.
They're Katie. I'm glad you're here because I was picking on you a little bit. You're 29.
Used to it.
That's okay. Your age group, though. I mean, you guys are buying homes right now, and a lot of you. I think the number one struggle we're finding at the office, and you guys can both talk about it, at least, is really the funds to close.
Yes, yes, definitely. And I think that my clients, I love some of my clients have been, they completely renovate I'm trying to get them open-minded to not those move-in ready homes. But even my brother, he's 23 years old and I'm helping him buy his first condo.
That's
I'm like,
awesome.
Yeah.
"Whoa, dude, I wish that I had my savings account stocked up like he did. Because not a lot of people do. We were just talking with our team the other day. Not a lot of people have savings accounts right now, whether you're my age or older. People just aren't saving like they used to.
Yeah, the cost of living has definitely gone up too. It's making it harder and harder. And now we've got, of course, higher interest rates. So it's making the housing cost. But
especially if you're renting, you have a higher rent.
Yes.
And it's very hard for people to save when rents are skyrocketing.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that too, that I feel bad for a lot of the renters because we get a lot of them that the homeowners are deciding to sell and they have nowhere to go.
Correct.
And I just feel so bad because we're trying to find them homes. They don't have any money because they weren't expecting for their landlord to sell their home that they've been living in. So it's just a lot going on out there, and we just feel really bad for the renters that don't have the savings. But you guys do down payment assistance.
We
and
do
all
a
those
ton of programs.
so-
Yeah. So just because you weren't ready for it doesn't mean that we can't help.
Right.
There's many down payment assistance programs out there. Some of them are income qualifying, some are not. Some doesn't matter what you make. But there's multiple ones. Some are state driven, some are national, but you don't know unless you call. And it definitely makes more sense. Everyone's like, I can't enter the money. But when you rent, don't you need first month's, last month's and security? I mean, if you're you're talking what? I'm assuming between $3,000 and $5,000, depending on how much your rent is. So if you can come up with that to get into an apartment, we can get you into a house.
I'm glad you brought that up. So my last closing was Thursday, of course, the end of the month, good old February 29th. And I needed the extra day to get this one last transaction done. But sure enough, it was about starter home, 150,000, younger family with 3 people living in the household. They received the mission of $10,000. They got an interest rate right now at 6.625, so a little bit under the marketplace. Even that's more than 0.5% under the marketplace. Yeah. So they got in for a total. They had to bring $3,500 to closing plus $2,000 EMD, so about $5,500. Lease, like you said, to rent a place, you guys, Derek, I think they get 2 months up front. So if you're $1,800 to $3,600, then they want a $1,500 or $2,000 security deposit. It costs the same amount of money to own your own house versus rent. And then, Katie, you're talking about the smarter people. Knock down a wall or two and make it your home. Make it what you want to live in.
Yes. I have my clients. They just bought a house over the summer, and they have completely renovated the entire house.
That's
and
awesome.
It's so cool to watch them do that. I love it. So.
All right, we're coming up to our first break here. We got tons to share with you. It's always fun here on the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. All righty, welcome back to the show. We are taking your calls here live in the studio at 248-539-9797. We are sponsored by Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by CMG Home Loans, NMLS 1820, Equal Housing Lender. Of course, our guest, associate broker now, Derica. Yeah, you passed.
Yes.
All right, we'll talk about that a little bit. Derica Wade and, of course, Katie Gilbo from Dwellings, Michigan. And it's so fun to have you guys on. You know, I'm getting out more and more because I got to get out there and build all the relationships. There's so many new people in the industry. And I went to a mastermind meeting the other day. Keith invited me, blah, blah, blah. Long story. They had a real estate attorney in there. It was like the best hour and a half I've ever spent in my life, Lisa.
He came back to the office and literally said that.
I'm pumped up, and I'm telling everyone, and I don't know, half the real estate agents, when they're playing on their phones and looking down the whole time, I'm like, hello, folks. This guy brought a little kudos to Jonathan out there. He brought some great information, and there's so much to know out there. Derica, if you want to be an associate, if you want to be the top 5% in your career, it takes some work and knowledge.
It definitely does. And that's something that, like, when my friend tried to talk me into becoming an agent, I was like, oh no, like, I don't want to go back to school. Like, I'm too old for that, you know? And after I decided to make that jump, that leap of faith, I sat in every class, and my broker, Shannon Hall, love her to death. She knows I've sat in the same class 4 times. I want to know, and every time I go, I get another nugget. So it's like, why not go and sit through? And we have to have so many CE credits, continued education. I had like 88.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we
But it
only
also
have
shows
Good for a couple years.
Yeah,
You're gonna be
I'm
good.
good.
You have
I'm
passion
good.
and you care and you want to
I
learn so you
do.
can
I
do the
do.
best you can for your clients. And it shows.
I want to know about mold. I want to know the trends, the grow houses. Like, I want to know what's going on in the market and what's changing and what's coming. And Shannon's really big on education and training us and teaching us to be successful. So that's what I've done.
That's awesome.
Little shout. She's your broker over
She
there.
is my
Okay.
amazing broker. Yes.
I like that. So there you go, Shannon. You get a little shout out here on the radio. That's great. Hey, we're going to take all your calls here. 248-539-9797. We always talk about like the inventory situation, things that are really relevant in today's marketplace. But you threw in one there just now, like the mold. And then I just said I was at this real estate attorney meeting. And sure enough, you're talking about contracts and easements and how important it is really to make sure you understand what you're signing. There's a huge difference between like the professionals and the top 5 or 10%, and then everybody else. Everybody else is filling in the blanks on a purchase agreement. So I really, if a little shout out to anyone out there, if you're in real estate, separate yourself. Lise, you do it. You're constantly. I mean, I have to go to you for answers all the time.
That's why they call me
but
Google.
That's what we do is we're
Right.
always
Lisa's phone
looking.
number.
Whether it be a tough situation, like how do we get this person in the house, or how do you like get over the fact that there's mold in the house, like getting the companies out there to go ahead and remediate the mold, get rid of it. Who's going to pay for it? What are the trends? And how to really ease a client, because boy, that could be scary stuff, Lise.
Well, with knowledge comes options. You don't know what you don't know. And I remember when I started out in this business, they had a different down payment assistance program, and you can pretty much roll almost anything in. And they got rid of that a long time ago. But at the time, we had a home that my clients wanted to purchase, and it had a huge barn, and it was peeling paint everywhere, FHA loan. The seller wasn't going to fix it. There was absolutely no money in it. And I came up with a crazy idea. Well, what if I donate it to the volunteer fire department? They can use it for a controlled burn exercise. They want to no joke.
This.
Hey, this is what I did. They needed $1,000 donation to pay for the people's time and everything, but this was a program where we could roll that in and consider it a cost. And literally, we burnt the thing down to the ground, so there was no peeling paint because there was no wood. It was literally on a foundation. But sometimes with knowledge comes power. You have to know what you can do. People moved in the home. The seller was okay with it because they didn't want to deal with the barn anyway. And they didn't have the funds or the resources to take it down. And so sometimes thinking outside of the box with all this crazy information gets things done.
Yes.
I've used fill dirt to fill in a pool before because, pool was an issue. I mean, sometimes and everyone's like, how'd you do that? Fill dirt's free. People volunteered. They filled in the pool. We got the deal.
right back into that pre-approval thing. Again, folks, listen loud and clear. Be prepared because there is no inventory. Is that not true, Derica? Like, we're going to get that call tomorrow, next week. You're going to call me next Saturday and say, Harvey, they want to make an offer on the house. They haven't been pre-approved yet.
Right. Yes.
And it's like scramble time.
Yes. I mean, it happens to us all the time. So we really try to educate our clients in the pre-approval process and getting that started. And I know that you guys have talked about this on other shows too. Like we do try to show at least a house without the pre-approval because we want to meet them. We want to introduce ourselves. We have buyer's packets and guides and stuff that we like to go over. But outside of that, like when we meet, like let's talk about a pre-approval. Let's pair you up with a lender. Let's get that going and get through underwriting because then we're treated like cash, right? And we can close a lot faster. So we try to do those extra steps to win our deals because it's very competitive out there. When you do find that house, then you have like 20 other people trying to get the same house.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I get calls all the time. Oh, it's, Friday at 4:30. We need highest and best by noon on Saturday. Right? And if you're not prepared and you haven't had these conversations with your lender before the 4:00 hour on a Friday, I mean, I'm available all weekend. Harvey's available all weekend. But there are some lenders who aren't. And if you don't know what your limits are and you don't understand what highest and best means and what that's going to mean to you and your bottom line and your payment and what you're bringing to close, and you go in and make that offer thinking everything's hunky-dory and I'll find out oh my gosh, I'm $2,000 short because you got the offer accepted, but didn't understand what all of that meant, then you don't close or then you're trying to borrow funds. And then, it's so much better to get the information up front, understand what your pre-approval means. Understand if you need more money, how we can make that happen for you in the near future. Maybe we pay off this debt to increase your debt, or lower your debt to income ratio. Maybe you're getting a tax refund and we can add that. There's so many other ways around it, but you got to be two things: communicating right with your lender and being honest with them. Yeah. You can't sit there and tell us you have $10,000 in the bank and then send me your bank statement with $65 and change. And I said, well, you said you had 10 grand in my notes. I said, I could have miswrote it. And they're like, oh, well, I thought I was going to get 10 grand, or I spent it, we hear it all. Just be very upfront. There's a million ways we can get things fixed.
And realizing that we're your friends.
Correct.
Like we're trying to help you get this transaction done. So being deceitful is like, that doesn't help us. We can't get the deal done if you're not going to be
Loan
upfront.
officers are not the underwriters. And I hate that name. I wish we could always call it. Remember we used to say mortgage bankers and then they changed it and then.
Call me whatever you want.
Right. But I think loan officer makes it sound like I'm in some position like you better keep, just like a police officer. You don't always want to tell them every little detail. But that's not the case. We're here to help you.
Exactly.
We're your friend. We're going to help you structure the deal. If you've done something that maybe could have made something a little messy or killed your deal, we're not going to sit there and be like, oh, sorry, too bad. We're going to say, well, we can't show this large deposit. So we have to wait XYZ days before you could even close. And since you made this deposit 3 weeks ago, that means you could not close for 5 weeks. So if you're going to write an offer, put a 5-week lead time on it. We're structuring this to get it done. You know what I mean? Not to stop you.
Yeah, the listing agents want to know that if they go ahead and accept that offer, because they've got multiple ones, that it's the strongest offer and that it's not going to fall apart in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So that's one of the things that did change. I would say, it did happen years ago. I've been at this for 32 years. I'm going to say 20, 30 years ago, maybe I did get some listing agents to call me, but not like now. We actually go a little step further. If the offer is going to go in, most of the agents I'm talking to, I said, well, if you're going to go ahead and submit the offer, go ahead and give me the agent's name and I'll go ahead and tell them, look, what we did with the transaction. And what we're doing is gathering documents, full applications, running them through the AUS system, automated system. And now we've got basically a cash offer, as you said, Derica. Not really. They're going to get a mortgage, but it gives us time to get the due diligence, get the title insurance in, get the appraisal in. And, most families do need that 3 or 4 week period anyway. So I think that the listing agents now are just like, they want that extra phone call. They're not always sure what the best offer to take is. You know what the best offer to take is? The one that's going to close for the most amount of money. That sounds pretty simple.
Right. Yeah, they do want that, right?
Yes, it does. Yes. And people that do communicate, because, we've had real estate agents on the other side or loan officers just completely fall off the map and you don't hear from them again.
Yeah, that's so irritating. You try to call the listing agent just to be like, hey, what do I have to do to win this offer? And they're like, crickets. They don't answer their phones. They don't return your calls. They don't return your text messages. And you're like, okay, we're going in blind. But you,
You're okay.
Okay.
We can hear you.
You claim that you're working for your seller. Well, how are you working for your seller if you're not even answering your phone?
Biggest pet peeve.
Yes. It's so irritating. I just did a spill the tea. I do these little videos and I'm like, listing agents, answer your phone or give me the listing, because it's so irritating that you're not going to answer your phone and negotiate. Like, don't be afraid. Don't be scared. like negotiate.
Right?
You'll even take the listing and give them 1% just because they for whatever reason,
hey,
just to help
get a
that
referral
seller.
fee, you know?
Right?
Make it work. The housing market's becoming a little bit more balanced than in recent past. It still favors sellers. I think that's going to be the story for 2024. Prospective buyers should take the lessons learned from the last few years and apply them now, even though conditions are less extreme. But I don't know. Rates are a little higher now, so I don't know if they're less extreme. So you're already getting a little bit higher rate, and you might have to overbid a little bit for the house. You know, if all the offers are coming in, and I've heard this a little lately, they're coming in at asking. There's still that client out there, and I've got a whole handful of them. They're willing to pay $5,000 or $10,000 more. They've already been educated. They understand the value, $5,000 or $10,000 on a particular house. Not every house, right? If the house backs up to the railroad tracks, if it backs up to something if there's some obsolescence, some reason why it's not that is desirable. Okay, well, you have to be educated to understand that, and then you can really come in and maybe get that house for your family.
Yeah. And, it depends on the area. Just last weekend, I had a client lost a offer, and they had 22 offers, we heard. He was $16,000 over asking on a conventional offer and did not get it. So there are some areas where it is still really hot and it's very, very competitive, certain zip codes, certain cities. But I would say overall slightly cooler than this time last year, unless you're one of these little pockets. But you have to be prepared. We had prepared that person. He had gotten a pre-approval from somewhere else and they maxed him out at a specific number. And I'm like, well, if we went and utilized this program, I can change the debt structure, right? So we have to call student loans. And most people with Fannie Mae have to put 1% of the balance, but Freddie Mac lets you do 0.5%. And this person had gone with a Fannie Mae product and maxed out their approval at 220. Well, I could bump it to 250, and I made it much more competitive for him when he's looking at homes that are between 210 and 220.
Yeah, able to spend a little more.
You can spend a little more, right? And so sometimes it's working with the right person, finding the buyer's needs, making sure you're fulfilling those needs. And yes, he didn't get the house last weekend, but we're definitely going to get, we're going to get one soon for sure.
Derek, I like this too. I wrote it's a different market now and then the past few years. I also wrote become your own ground home inspection company. I don't even know what that is. Ground home and understand what to look for. All right, here's what I'm going with. I wrote it down on Wednesday or Thursday. Here's what I was thinking. Those were a whole bunch of words. I don't know if any of them made sense. Here's what makes sense. When you show up to a house, you're educated. You can see everything above ground, just like that home inspection is going to be. And again, a lot of times to get that offer, you might have to do a pass-fail inspection. So what can you do? You can have a flashlight. If you're a great selling agent like you, Derica, you've got a flashlight. You've got a small ladder in your car so you can get up and look in some interesting places, maybe get up there and look to see what's going on in the attic space. But think of how smart you could become walking around the house with a flashlight. You could see the age of the furnace. You can see if there's any evidence of water in the basement. I can go on and on and on when I walk into a house. And one of my favorite stories, if I have time for it, is real quick, is I had done a mortgage for a real estate agent who's blind. He claims to be the only, he's probably listening up in St. Clair County. He's the only blind real estate agent, he said, in Michigan. And I said, well, why would I hire you? He goes, well, I'll tell you why, Harvey. When I get out of the car in the driveway, I can smell the mold. And I said, huge. He said, I got one for you. When I walk in the house, I can tell if the foundation is off because his senses were so good. Use what skills you're given. If you've got eyes and hands and ears, check it out and find out. So if you're thinking that house is going to match your needs, you're a little bit more educated and a little bit stronger offer. All right. That music, I got a boring story for every segment here. All right, we'll come back with Derek and Katie and Lisa. I'm Harvey Freed. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket, 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the show, 9:30. The temperature's been heating up around here. We got an early start on spring lease, so maybe some more buyers are coming out of the woodwork. That's always cool.
I hope so.
248-539-9797. It's a Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. Hey, you can call us at Capital, too, all week long. How about 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker? 1-800-LOW-RATE. That's an easy way to get in touch with Lisa or myself. All week long at the office, we make it fun to become a homeowner.
Other people work there, too, not just Harvey.
Oh, other people are there. We've got a great staff.
Anybody you want to get a hold of at Capital Mortgage.
Lisa, you did the bridal show, and because we have that great program out there, I just want to talk about a couple quick programs. And then, Derica, you got an unbelievable listing, so get your radio jacked up here for first-time home buyers. Derica, we're to talk about that listing, but the home funded program.
Yes.
And, of course, Katie even told us a lot of the young people, they just don't have a lot saved up. And, some old people don't either. So
Home
funded program.
So Home Funded is an amazing program. It's crowdfunding to buy a house. We're the only ones that have it. And we like to utilize it for people who just graduated, like from college, or newlyweds people just got engaged, so they have time. But you can use it for absolutely anything. It doesn't have to be a big life event. And in essence, for every dollar that your crowd or your influencers, right, your hopefully family, friends give you, we will match $2 for every $1 that they do, up to $2,000. So if they give you $2,000, we're going to match $2,000. Now you have $4,000. And it's a grant, doesn't have to get paid back. You don't have to worry about it. You can take as long as you need to fund this account. So some people are like, well, I can't get people to donate that kind of money to me. And I said, well, if you're getting married in, November of next year, because this is what happens. Right? People just got engaged around the holidays or Valentine's Day, and they're just starting looking at venues, and they'll set a date for the end of next year. You have a whole year and a half. That means, bridal showers, birthdays.
I love it.
Holidays.
Yeah, bridal
just
showers
say,
too. Yeah.
Instead of giving me $100 in a card, put $100 in my home funded account, because then we'll match it 2-to-1. That $100 became $300. So there's other ways. Anytime they share it on social media, they get $10. And then there's something called Up It. And Up It works hand in hand with the Home Funded program. And over 1,100 retailers are a part of this. You shop through the Up It website. So you go to Up It. Up It then gives you the list of retailers, big ones like Home Depot, big giant ones. You then go to that retailer, and whatever you were going to buy anyway, you just buy through.
Just buy it through that system.
Right?
That one is like 7 or 8%.
7%. So if someone has to buy a $100 tool at Home Depot, $7 goes into your account for for purchasing a home. So everyone's like, I can't save, I can't do this. There's so many other ways, if you again, that outside box thinking, to help you come up with down payment money.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So any excuse to go shopping.
Exactly. Right?
We're there.
Exactly.
We're there, Katie.
We just got I had a cousin getting married. We just got the invitation for one of the showers, and my girlfriend's looking in and everything. This is perfect for
But I'm thinking like graduation seasons, literally a couple months away, right?
Yes.
I mean, all these high schools are graduating, and everyone's like, college. I said, no, you start them when they graduate high school. They can use this account. It can be open forever. So the whole time they're in college, 4 years, right? I think that's what people.
Yeah, people are spending money, and it's going into their account.
But so say, look, for your birthday, for Christmas, whatever you're doing, I'm putting money in here. So by the time they graduate, they can have money for a house.
That's amazing.
It's just to me, it's a no-brainer to set your kids up for success.
Yeah, I like that you said it was open forever, because I was going to ask that. So that's great.
And God forbid something ever happen, right? And the house doesn't come to fruition, or something happens. Any money that you raised goes back to the person it was raised for. You don't get the grant, because obviously the grant portion has to come with the house.
Right. But
you're never going to lose out. There's no fees to maintain it. It's not like we charge you $10 a month. I mean, literally, it is a no-brainer. You cannot lose.
All right. Coming up with some creative ways to get your down payment money. Of course, we have down payment assistance programs all around Michigan. We got the Michigan program. You got National Faith. You got There's lots of great programs. Be sure to call us either in the studio or check us out at the office at 1-800-LOW-RATE, and we'll hook you up with all that stuff. Making home ownership funds, what we're all about. We've got open lines, 248-539-9797. Definitely want to talk about that listing, because you always
sounds like a perfect starter home.
Yeah, condo. Sure enough, I'm like, Derica, what do we got that's hot out there? And go ahead.
Yeah, we have a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo in Canton. Great location. Like I always say, Katie and I always relate things to food, because we're like foodies, but it's right behind Mexican Fiesta on Ford Road. So you could literally go and have your margaritas and stumble home.
Okay, 3 shots of tequila, 2 margaritas. I'm in. But what was that priced at? 2 bedroom?
140. Yes, on my phone. It's in coming soon status right now. My phone's already been blowing up. People are inquiring about it. So it's super, it's awesome.
Again, there can be multiple bids on that. And if it's for a first-time home buyer, again, one of the things we would do is check right away to see if it's FHA approved or find out if it's not. You're going to have so many offers on it. So again, this is why getting that mortgage, that piece, that pre-approval ahead of time is so important, because a lot of times someone might say, oh, you're an FHA, and you're not. You're really a conventional loan. So it's something that we see all the time, is making sure that the right mortgage is set up for the right person and they don't miss out on that opportunity. 140 cars are selling for 140 nowadays. I mean, I don't, can you buy a car for less than 6 digits, right? So definitely an opportunity. And we talk about that, lease, some down payment assistance comes along with that.
Yeah.
You know, you might only need $3,000 or $4,000 and you become a homeowner. It's that simple.
Conventional, 3% down, first time home buyer programs up to, everyone talks about debt to income ratio. They have programs specifically for first time home buyers. You need those usually around 660 credit. Everyone's like, well, you need to have 700, 800 credit. No, 660 is the minimum score for these first time home buyer programs. So something like that would be perfect. I mean, 3% is less than FHA's 3.5%. It's just basic math.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stigma around first time home buyer programs, thinking they're always like more like an FHA type. And absolutely, first of all, they shouldn't have a stigma at all. But there's many conventional programs that can help people. And obviously with condos, that's sometimes a little easier to get done.
Yep.
The Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, he always talks. He's got something to say. But really what he said last week sort of tends to fall in line with our conversation that, look, the rates are what they are. Yeah. And if that opportunity comes to refinance, like some of the great opportunities in 2020, 21, and 22, it'll probably show itself. I mean, doubt we'll get down a pandemic. I hope we don't have another pandemic, that's for sure. No. It's probably very unlikely that you'll see things under 4% for a long time. If they do, that's awesome stuff. But as much as we keep hearing that rates are going to drop, now in May and June, we don't necessarily see it. And really, the Federal Reserve really is not hinting that that's going to be the case at all. Unemployment figures, a little bit off. That's if
it was a Fannie Mae prediction at the end of last year, and they said by the end of this year, they expect rates to be in the high 5s, is what they said.
Gosh almighty.
But they've made these you have to look at Fannie Mae's record. They've made these predictions in the past and have been very wrong. They've also been right. You know what I mean? It's a prediction. It's not a guarantee. It's not a forecast. It's not, it's just, it's their best educated guess. And, American consumers have stumped and changed the direction of a lot of these in the past, right? So yes, we use it as a tool, and yes, it was stated. And Fannie Mae is, of course, a great entity. It's not like they're, your uncle 3 doors down who, it's actually somebody with clout, but it doesn't mean that it's always 100% accurate or correct.
That's just like the weather.
Right, exactly. You got to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. And yes, it is an educated decision. It's not like they just sat there and said blah blah blah. There's literally a 10-point, if you read the report, 10 points of why they believe that to be true. But the reality is sometimes it doesn't come to fruition. You know what I mean? And this is an election year, so things are going to be real crazy, right? I mean, so I'm not, betting on any predictions at all, but it doesn't matter, because the reality is if you want a place of your own and a place to call home and a place to make your own, this is the perfect time to buy. And it doesn't matter if rates at 5% or 15%. The reality of it is if you don't jump in, you're wasting your money and you're literally paying somebody else's rent.
Yeah,
rent is 0%. What do we say? Rent is 100% interest all the time.
100%.
100% interest. You're not investing in yourself. You're not investing in your future, and real estate's always a good idea. Ask Warren Buffett.
Yes, I actually bought my first house, and Becky always uses this story. When I bought my first house, it was an FHA purchase, very little down. And when I sold it, it was only like 2 years later. And this is in some great time. This is probably 1992, 93, 94, right in that ballpark. I still made money on it. Mm-hmm. And the market was nothing like it is today. And I was able to take that money. I think I netted after the sale with the agent and transfer, whatever the fees were, the title insurance transfer. I act like I don't know the fees. I know what they were. I probably had $12,000 and was able to buy the next house. Right. And that's really what got me going in the right direction and my own personal journey. And that's what I said. Everyone's journey is a little bit different. All right, tell us about your journey. We got some open lines here, 248 539-9797. We always have lots to share with you. I am definitely going to this new construction site. Catch me out at Chesterfield. So I go all the way to M59, takes me all the way to
He
St.
asks me
Clair,
this
around
every
the
time.
roundabout. And I love it out there.
does.
Lise, is it like, do people come to Oakland County and go, wow, I really love it here? Because when I go to northern Macomb County,
I don't know. I live in northern Macomb
I know
County.
when I go
so-
out there, I'm like, I want to move to Anchor Bay.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, I personally love it there. We have grown up there. I've been an East Sider my whole life. I love being that close to the lake, and so for me, it's the perfect place to call home. Plus taxes are less. So like, why would, no offense to you Oakland County people.
No, that's good. No, I
But
love
you
it.
know what I mean? But I mean, I just have no desire to pay higher taxes than
Now
necessary.
you
so.
really feel sorry for us Wayne County people. Also.
Well, let's talk about the different counties. So again, the three counties, of course, we're here in Metro Detroit. We got Wayne, Oakland, Macomb. But then our other counties have some great things. Livingston, Genesee,
Livingston.
St. Clair.
Lenawee, St. Clair County. These are all fall under the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, offers rural development loans. These lease are zero down loans. They have a small amount of PMI. They do have some income restrictions, but those have gone up quite a bit. And this program was set up really to get more families away from the city and start developing land on the outskirts of towns, sort of developing new cities. It's a great, great program also, Lisa.
There's
Let's just talk a
places
little bit
in
about it.
Macomb County that you can still
yeah.
get USDA where I live because it is a little bit boondocky still out there sometimes. I'm going to say it. And I love it. You know what I mean? I like being just far enough away, so I still have some country. I mean, I literally go 5 minutes and there's like pumpkin patches and cornfields and I'm cool with that. But some people want more of a metropolitan vibe and that's great too. But yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's just,
Katie, you're a city girl?
I'm a city girl.
yeah, I mean, and nothing's wrong with that. I just, I like a little more space. And so, but people have this idea that Macomb County is all metro and it's absolutely not. So.
Alrighty, we're
Check
up
it out.
against a quick little break here. When we come back, again, we are starting to talk about some zero down programs, USDA, the veterans out there. Yeah, if you have veterans eligibility, you served our country. Thank you. And we're going to thank you back by offering you the zero down. Find out, though, if you're a VA and you're putting a lot of money down, you might want to look at a conventional loan. So
Sometimes it makes more sense.
Sometimes it makes more sense. All right, lots to share with you. 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. We are back in our last segment. Lots of fun here with Derica Wade and Katie Gil.
You're going to get it right. You were doing
Katie
good.
Gilbo. I said Gilbo.
there we
I got
go.
it.
You got it right.
Third
You
time's
guys
a
are
charm.
fun. You make real estate fun, and it's sort of age. It's not like an age thing. You could be. When I remember when I was younger in the industry and I worked with older people. Now I'm older and I work with younger people. It's such a fun industry because we can sort of mix and match and meet different people and their personalities, which makes it really fun. Tell us a little bit about your brand here you guys got.
Yeah, so we're matching hearts to homes. I work underneath. I just get the heart.
Throw the heart up. Gotta throw it up.
Dwellings, Michigan, and we're the Hearts to Homes team. And when my broker asked me what name I wanted to choose, I said, let me think about it. Let me pray about it. And I didn't want it to be about Derica Wade. It's not about Derica Wade. It's about my clients, our clients. And so I wanted something that represented me and the heart, love, passion, helping people. And then what do? You match a heart to a home.
I love that.
And so when I walk in with a client and they're like, no, I'm not really feeling this. And I'm like, well, your heart's not matched to the home. Let's go. And I'm really big on that. So if you're not like, oh my God, this is it, then I have matched your heart to a home.
I like that. And, we used to say what's ever meant to be is meant to be. I think I'm going to stick with that one still. Like a lot of times a client will come and go, oh, Harvey, I missed out. I go, you know what? Every time a client misses out, it seems like the next one they find is really the one that matches them. Katie, have you had that yet?
Yeah, my client, I actually was in dance with her when I was like 4. And so last year, her fiance found a house they absolutely loved. Put an offer on it, didn't work out. Going and showing other houses, all of a sudden I get a call from the listing agent, hey, our clients backed out. You guys still want the house?
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. And they were so excited, so happy. So I truly feel like the houses that are meant to be for our clients.
Not a bad idea, at least. Making sure, Derica, you're the backup offer. There's nothing wrong with it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll even make that extra call. Don't just tell me I'm the backup offer. Hey, let's put this in stone. Am I a backup offer? Because maybe something doesn't work out with those buyers. Like I said, you got to be pretty powerful. If you're a buyer, you got to be sharp. When you go see this home, it's not like the olden days. Hey, Derica, this is really great. Hey, maybe my mom and dad could come and see it in a couple of days when they're off. That place is gone.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And we do that a lot because I think it's huge for us when we call the listing agent and they're like, wow, you're like the first agent that's called me. And I want to build rapport with that listing agent. And so we have it in back and forth. So when they see my listing, they call me. And when I see their listing, I call them. And a lot of agents, like I do a lot of listings, they never pick up the phone to call me. So I like to be that backup offer, build up the rapport. I even follow up like after inspection. Hey, how did inspection go? Are you still moving forward? Hey, how did the appraisal go? Are you still moving forward? So they're still not going to forget about me and they're not going to forget about my offer. So when that offer they back out, buyer's remorse happens all the time. Or people are nitpicking with inspection. And I just got one for a good friend of mine. And so we were the backup offer and swoop, we're in and we're closing next week.
Awesome.
Oh, those are the best stories. Hey, we got some extra time and a little bit of extra lines. 248-539-9797. Will there be a housing crash? The answer is likely no. I'll go with a really strong no, there's no housing crash coming. Why is that? Most of the experts think that the housing crash that they had back in the day was really due to overinflated prices, people who were unqualified, Lisa. Now everyone's qualified, Lisa. The market, low inventory, and the way lenders go about their lending
I'm
practices
going to be really
is totally
brutally
different.
honest. I think it had a lot to do with crappy lenders.
She's spilling the tea.
Spill the tea.
Oops, not us.
Not me. No, not anybody
All
here.
those people that are out of business, I have a whole
A
list
lot of them
those
are out of
names.
business. But there were
Harry
people.
won't let me say
it
all
was-
the companies
no,
like World,
but it was all about
something
the
other, and all those other
sale.
people.
They were
Goofballs.
trained in how to get it
Brad.
done and get it closed and not do what was best for the borrower.
Yeah.
And so people got in over their heads. They did things that they shouldn't have done. They signed documents they didn't understand. Rates adjusted. Market crashed. They were stuck. I mean, I'm sorry. It wasn't all the fault of bad lenders, but a lot of it. Bad lenders who had relationships with, appraisers and been like, oh, if you can get me XYZ amount, I could refi this person to what they need. And that none of that should have ever happened. And unfortunately, I think it put a lot of bad taste in people's mouths about the industry. But amazing thing happened is it cleaned it up. Everybody had to get licensed.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
There's
yeah,
a lot
that
of
was the best part.
people who used to, and when we went through this, when it first came out, Harvey and I know, could not get licensed because they had things in their background checks or things that had happened that would not allow them to be licensed. And then they had to go work at banks. And that is the truth because banks didn't have that same requirement.
The scammers and the bad people, you'll see them out there still. You just watch the local news here at night, and sure enough, there was a situation. I don't want to talk about bad stuff,
No.
but situation in the city where they were stealing money and
everyone
stealing
else
people's
to
information.
think it was a negative thing, and I thought it was a great thing because it cleaned it up.
Really
I
did.
only want to work with people who have integrity. I want to work with
Yes,
people who have the
absolutely.
client's best interest at heart. I don't want to work with somebody who's going to smooth talk, a client into making them sign something they're not super comfortable with. And so honestly, it didn't bother me, but
Lending practices are a lot safer now. There's
so
no
much
doubt
safer.
about that.
That's why there's no cat.
I don't know if
crash.
people just like hold on to their money a little bit tighter now
Yeah.
too, because they realize that, look, if I'm going to put 20% down on a property, I'm not letting this property go. And our appreciation is really changing everything. Appreciation makes your house worth more. So if you bought it this year and you can't afford it next year, you can rent it out, Derica. It can become a rental because that rental market's so strong right now.
It is. It
All right.
is.
Go ahead.
I wanted to piggyback off of the
Oh, go ahead.
integrity thing too. Another thing that I love about Dwellings Michigan is that we don't participate in dual agency. And I know
Awesome.
we are always constantly educating our clients on that because people don't know. I mean, I had a woman in her 60s that had no idea what that even meant. And she said I was the first agent that explained that. So if we represent the seller, we only represent the seller. We're not representing a seller
you.
and telling, hey, buyer, go down on your price. The seller's willing to go down. And then we're getting paid on both sides. It's illegal in most states, but it's not here in Michigan. But at Dwellings, we sign that we are not participating in dual. And that's integrity.
Integrity,
How, if
thank
you
you.
go through a divorce, do you want
Huge.
the same lawyer to represent a husband and a wife? No.
Right. No,
So
and it's a big deal. I actually
it
just had
is.
somebody the other day, they were going to use an agent I'd recommended, and they said, we just went with the listing agent. And I was like,
Bad, no.
Yeah.
I literally was like a gut punch. And I said, do you realize that the listing agent has a fiduciary responsibility to the seller,
Absolutely.
not you?
Yes.
They have to have the seller's best interest at heart. They're not representing your interest as a buyer.
Right.
It cost a buyer nothing. You don't pay for a real estate
Right, you
agent.
don't even have to pay for your seller. Say, hey, Lise, let's go off to this
Yes,
call
we got
here.
calls.
We've got Rick calling in. Good morning, Rick. Thank you for calling in. Go ahead with your question. I'm gonna let me comment first. I like that. Yeah, fantastic. Let me comment on the first one. Land contract, I love for sure. Rent to own, I don't like as much. A rent to own has really favored the sellers in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why is the buyers have this false notion that they're going to own the house one day, and there really isn't anything to state that they're going to have an opportunity to buy it. So what the landlord does is he puts a hook in their mouth and he's like, hey, you're going to own this one day. So now they start putting their own money into it. They treat the house a lot nicer. They start buying things for the house. And there's really no way, unless it's really set up professionally, Lisa. I've set these up professionally, but at the end of the day, it's hard to use any of that rent income towards a down payment, so it becomes a seller's concession. But what I love, Rick, that you threw out there is land contracts. And as much as we're mortgage people, sometimes, right, offer them 10 or 15 or 20,000. You might need a year or two. Rick, I'm going to let you go, but thanks for the call, and I'll follow up with you. There's no doubt that if you could get someone into the house, you guys will do a land contract. Sure, if your seller agrees to take 10 or 20,000 down payment, they'll finance the house, maybe for 2 or 3 years. But that seller probably wants to net their income out of it and get the house sold. Lisa, go
and
ahead.
not all sellers can do that. You can't go into a home that, someone's got a listing and say, I'm going to rent or I'm going to do a land contract. Sometimes people need that money for a down payment for the next property, or they don't want to be financing somebody else's dream, because that really puts on the seller. So yes, they absolutely exist. They're not that easy to find. You know what I mean? So you have to be real patient. Everyone's like, I'll just ask. And I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying it never happens, but usually people who are listing for sale are not usually interested in accepting land contract terms, because they usually want the money from the proceeds, usually.
They could put together a long-term plan. Now, they could do a rental loan. Maybe their house isn't in good shape.
But a lot of land
Maybe
contracts, too, require very large down payments.
Yes,
So
they
you
do.
might have junk credit, but they're going to want 20% down, right? I mean, you guys are agents. You know how this works.
And high interest.
And higher interest.
high.
You're paying higher than market interest. So, yes, is it a solution? Yes. Is it the best solution? Honestly, working on your credit for, 6 months to a year
That could help.
and getting you to the position where you could buy with a normal mortgage, to me, would be a better solution than the higher interest rate, the large down payment, because you're talking about first month, and this guy was talking about not having enough money to get in. Land contract isn't going to really help you there. Land contract doesn't give you 1%, you can move in. That's not how that works. They want usually 20% or more, so that wouldn't really be the solution. But there are other ways to get around that. And And really, it's working on credit, which
Yeah,
is my absolute 100% favorite
My head
topic.
is spinning now. If you ever enter into a land contract, call a mortgage lender because you need an exit strategy. We need to tell you how to arrange the agreement, how many years you need to be locked in there. And like
to
I
fix your
said,
credit. And sometimes you get them and they're like, oh, 2 years. And I'll be like, but you haven't done anything to fix it. Now you're obligated because your land contract is ending and you're not even financeable. So you have to have a plan. Getting into a land contract is not the solution. It is a part of the longer plan.
make sure you do your due diligence too. I had a land contract that I paid off, got him a mortgage. Sure enough, FHA mortgage required well and septic. We do the well report. It turns back horrible amounts of arsenic, horrible amounts of lead. And your family's already drinking this water and stuff. So you got to get more professionals on your team.
Because land contracts, they don't even think to get inspections.
They don't
Often they don't even think about it.
I'll fix it all up until it has a well and a septic. Derica, you got like final thoughts here? We're coming up to the end of the show. What else we got cooking?
Oh, gosh.
Well, we got the other listing in Garden City coming up.
Yes, we do have another
starter
listing
home.
in Garden City. Yes, it's 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, a 2.5 car garage, corner lot, fenced in yard. They've done a lot of updates, super cute, and that's gonna be priced at $195.
Wow. See, another great first-time home buyer.
Yeah, Garden
Perfect
City
price
went
point.
quickly from 120, 130 to 195.
Yes, we've seen it increase
especially
a
on a
lot.
nice house.
Yes, I've
That's
had a
a
hard
nice
time
house.
finding Garden City like under 200,000, but this house has a really nice addition, fireplace. It's a
Nice.
great house. It's a
All
great
right,
house.
you guys got to check out these guys. Derica Wade, call Dwellings, Michigan. You can call us at Capital Mortgage Funding. We'll get you hooked up with Derica and Katie and make sure that you get the house of your dreams. And again, first time lease, maybe it's not the house of your dreams. Maybe just build a ton of equity. And the second time around is the house of your
Right.
dreams. All right, either way, we'll hook you up. All right, that music says we got to say thank you to you guys. Thank you for coming
Thank you
in.
for having us.
All right, I'll come out and visit you, Derica. You're fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure to meet you. Everyone thinks that we're all in bed with each other here. We're not.
No,
we
no.
don't know. We don't even know Derica. No, we know her.
Nope.
She gets the job done. All right. We will see you next week at Pat Caputo coming up with sports. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. We'll see you next Saturday.
Thank you.